Round 1. Fight!
Michael versus Trevor is not a very fair comparison, but it is one fight most of us thought about. Despite the fact that Michael is much smarter than Trevor, in a direct fist fight this would not matter. They are similar in age, but Michael was out of the game for a long time. He was just drinking and smoking for years. Trevor also had his fair share of drugs, drinking, and smoking, but he was active. Trevor was always searching for trouble and violence, so because of Trevor's constant training and being more active than Michael, this one has to go to Trevor. Carl Johnson versus Tommy Vercetti is a tough comparison. While Tommy Vercetti is depicted as completely heartless and feeling no regret for all of the people that he kills, CJ is depicted as having a considerably less violent personality, occasionally giving his targets a chance to redeem themselves. Tommy Vercetti is depicted as both intelligent and temperamental. He is easily angered and quick to resort to violence. Tommy prefers to perform his own work rather than delegate tasks to others. Even after he has his own gang and other subordinates working for him, he usually puts his plans in motion personally. He personally gets involved if things aren't going as well as he'd like, but most of the time he uses guns and does not rely on physical strength. Carl was the most customizable protagonist until the release of Grand Theft Auto Online. He can be muscular, thin, or fat with the use of gyms and restaurants. The fact that he can be huge compared to Tommy Vercetti, plus his gang and hood life, makes CJ an opponent that, in a direct fight, Tommy simply could not handle. If we are talking about the use of guns or other weapons, Tommy has an advantage because he has gained experience in the Mafia. Claude remains true to his mission of finding and taking revenge on Catalina for leaving him for dead, even showing the slightest bit of pity for Maria when he allows her to live after freeing her, and that saving her was at least part of his priorities, only to possibly kill her himself. Claude does kill his former bosses. It's usually those who mistreat him or betray him like Kenji or Salvatore Leone, implying Claude doesn't take slights against him lightly, explaining why he is more than willing to kill them. Franklin is much calmer than both Michael, who has a very short temper, and Trevor, who is a violent psychopath. This calm personality is often displayed during missions where he keeps it cool while fulfilling the task at hand, and when he is forced to act as the peacekeeper between Michael and Trevor when they get into an argument. Franklin seems to suffer from depression due to the perceived lack of success and his breakup with Tanisha. When he is high on marijuana, he often comments on how empty and alone he feels. Because Franklin is still being mentored by Michael and does not have as much experience as Claude in the criminal world, this one goes to Claude. Claude would have no problems in using a gun to kill Franklin in a street fight.
Round 1. Fight!
Trevor discovered that he had a talent for flying jets. He enlisted in the Air Force to fly fighter jets, but several days prior to completing his training and becoming a licensed pilot, Trevor was deemed mentally unstable by the witch in charge of psychological evaluations, thus resulting in Trevor's discharge and grounding for life. After being discharged from the military, Trevor became a drifter and committed petty crimes along the border with no particular goal in mind. Nico grew up in the harsh environment of the Yugoslav wars, and was a teenage soldier. He served as a helicopter pilot and an infantryman during the war, and during the mission Easy Fare, Roman alludes to him driving a tank. Nico's unit of 15 men, most of them friends from his hometown, were ambushed by enemy forces, but Nico himself survived. Nico is the most combat-trained protagonist of the entire series, and thus, in a fight between him and Trevor, Nico is most likely to win. Trevor might be a psychopath, but Nico is a trained killer. His military training and combat expertise is a plus that Trevor simply does not have. Claude betrays most of the people he comes into contact with, and it seems as though his main goal is getting revenge on Catalina. Claude and CJ interact with one another in GTA San Andreas, including some brief lore for Claude. He used to live in San Fierro, so he has that similarity with CJ. CJ is a more empathetic, but still brutal, character compared to Claude, but he has advantages over Claude like being able to hit the gym and build muscle mass. CJ also grew in tough city and he had to fight all his life. Claude on the other hand is not that gifted physically, he is mostly good with guns. In direct combat CJ will erase Claude. Also, in GTA San Andreas CJ does acquire Claude's old, beat-down garage by racing with him.
Round 1. Fight!
CJ grew up fighting the Ballas and the Vagos, infiltrated Area 69, stole a top-secret government project, discovered proof of extraterrestrial life, took a joyride in a military jet, faced down an army, and actually wears his seatbelt. Carl combat style isn't anything special, but he gets work done. CJ is the funniest and has a great personality, but Nico was really likable and had a better story. Nico has clean fighting style. He fought in a war, lived in a broken family in a rough country. He has better combat style with weapons. He is a bit slower though. Nico was much more of a bold protagonist with a very strong, powerful, and meaning backstory. Simply, he had plans and them plans were made correctly to get what he wanted while CJ didn't have a clear idea on what he wanted. And he ate his way around his desire, but Nico had a certain direction he wanted to follow and achieve. But in the end, somehow I bet they would be equal in a fight, and I bet they would be best friends.